SA Rugby CEO Rian Oberholzer has cast serious doubt over whether either South Africa or New Zealand will host another Rugby World Cup in the modern era, admitting that financial realities may permanently shift the tournament away from two of the sport's traditional powerhouses. Despite the extraordinary pedigree of the South Africa national rugby union team and the All Blacks, who together have claimed 7 of the 10 men's Rugby World Cup titles. Oberholzer believes economics, not history, will dictate future hosting decisions. That a tournament dominated by two giants few nations have shaped Rugby World Cup history, quite like South Africa and New Zealand. Between them, they have defined eras, produced iconic players, and lifted the Webb Ellis Cup more often than any other countries. New Zealand co-hosted the inaugural tournament in 1987 alongside Australia, before staging the competition solo in 2011. South Africa famously hosted and won the 1995 edition, a tournament etched into global sporting folklore. Yet since 1995, South Africa has repeatedly failed in its attempts to secure hosting rights, most recently losing the 2023 bid to France. New Zealand, too, faces mounting challenges in mounting a commercially competitive bid in today's marketplace. The next 2 men's tournaments are already locked in: Australia in 2027 and the United States in 2031. Beyond that, the race for 2035 and 2039 is intensifying, but Oberholzer does not see his country, or New Zealand, emerging victorious. The financial reality at the heart of Oberholzer's argument is a blunt truth. The Rugby World Cup is World Rugby's primary revenue stream. The Rugby World Cup is the only revenue stream for World Rugby that must fund the whole ecosystem. Oberholzer explained to reporters in Cape Town. Over a 4-year cycle, income generated by the tournament is redistributed across member unions worldwide. Development programs, high-performance funding, grassroots initiatives all depend heavily on the profits generated by hosting the global showpiece. All the members must get some funding out of the Rugby World Cup, Oberholzer continued. Therefore, World Rugby must take the tournament to where it can generate the most revenue and go where there is support from local and national governments. In simple terms, the host nation must maximize commercial returns: ticket sales, broadcast deals, sponsorship agreements, hospitality packages, and government backing. And here lies the problem for South Africa and New Zealand. Market size matters compared to Europe, North America, or potentially the Middle East. Both South Africa and New Zealand have relatively small domestic markets. Stadium capacities, corporate sponsorship potential, and tourism infrastructure, while strong regionally, cannot compete with the sheer scale of larger economies. If you compare us to Europe, for example, Oberholzer said, "I cannot see that money will ever be the same in terms of how much they can generate there, and perhaps the Middle East in the future, than in South Africa." The financial model has evolved. Where once there may have been a philosophical commitment to rotating hosting rights among traditional rugby nations, the modern approach prioritizes commercial sustainability. The shift in philosophy. Oberholzer acknowledged that the sport has moved away from the idea that every major rugby-playing nation deserves an equal opportunity to host. "I think we have moved away from the philosophy that everyone must get an equal chance to host a World Cup," he said. Instead, World Rugby now appears focused on expanding into lucrative or emerging markets capable of delivering record-breaking returns. The 2019 tournament in Japan demonstrated the commercial potential of non-traditional hosts, while France 2023 delivered unprecedented revenue figures. Australia 2027 is expected to generate significant income, and the United States 2031 represents a bold expansion into one of the world's largest sports markets. In that context, South Africa and New Zealand face an uphill battle. 2035. A crowded field speculation had suggested that South Africa might launch a bid for the 2035 tournament. Reports indicated discussions between SA Rugby and World Rugby regarding the feasibility of such a campaign. However, Oberholzer's comments appear to cool that prospect considerably. Meanwhile, interest in 2035 is already fierce. Spain has formally declared its intention to bid. Japan, having successfully hosted in 2019, is eager for a second opportunity. There are also murmurs of a potential South American joint bid spearheaded by Argentina alongside Uruguay, Chile, and Brazil. Italy has expressed interest in hosting either 2035 or 2039, and Middle Eastern nations, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, are exploring possibilities, potentially with substantial government backing. The financial clout available in some of these regions could dwarf what South Africa or New Zealand can realistically assemble: government support and infrastructure. Another key factor is governmental backing. Hosting a Rugby World Cup requires not just stadiums, but extensive infrastructure investment, transport upgrades, accommodation capacity, security planning, and promotional campaigns. World Rugby prefers hosts capable of underwriting risks and guaranteeing returns. Larger economies or nations seeking to enhance global sporting prestige may be willing to invest heavily to secure hosting rights. For South Africa, economic pressures and competing national priorities make matching such financial guarantees increasingly difficult. It's a World Rugby decision, not a SA Rugby decision, Oberholzer admitted. World Rugby will drive World Cups to where they believe they will make the most money, and we have to understand that. A hard truth for traditional powers. Oberholzer was candid in acknowledging the contradiction inherent in demanding hosting rights while also seeking substantial annual funding from World Rugby's revenue pool. We can't complain and ask for a World Cup in your country, make less money, and then want the biggest slice of the cake when it comes to the annual grant, he said. His comments reflect a pragmatic, if sobering, assessment of modern sports governance. For decades, South Africa and New Zealand have been central pillars of the global game, both competitively and culturally. Yet in a professional era defined by commercial realities, tradition alone does not guarantee opportunity. Not a negative, but a reality. Importantly, Oberholzer does not frame this as a grievance. I don't think it is a negative for us, he clarified, but more of what is in the best interests of World Rugby. From his perspective, ensuring the long-term sustainability of the global rugby ecosystem outweighs national ambition. That stance may surprise some supporters who dream of seeing another World Cup on African soil or in Aotearoa. But it underscores the delicate balance between heritage and economics. The bigger picture: the Rugby World Cup has evolved dramatically since its inception in 1987. What began as a bold experiment has become a multi-billion-dollar enterprise underpinning the finances of the entire sport. SA Rugby seeks to expand into new territories and compete in an increasingly crowded entertainment market. Commercial considerations inevitably shape strategic decisions. The United States in 2031 represents perhaps the clearest example of that ambition, a gateway into a massive sports economy with untapped commercial potential. Similarly, the prospect of a Middle Eastern bid signals how rugby may align itself with regions capable of delivering unparalleled financial backing. Against such competition, smaller traditional rugby nations face structural disadvantages that a future without hosting. While Oberholzer stops short of declaring it impossible, his tone suggests that another World Cup in South Africa or New Zealand is unlikely in the foreseeable future. A joint bid could theoretically alter the equation, spreading costs and expanding market reach. Yet even then, commercial comparisons with Europe or North America remain challenging. For now, it appears that South Africa's focus will remain on excelling on the field rather than hosting off it. Given the Springboks record, that may not be a bad consolation prize. The conclusion: Rian Oberholzer's comments reflect a clear-eyed recognition of rugby's modern financial landscape. Despite the historical weight and competitive success of South Africa and New Zealand, hosting rights are no longer determined by legacy or sentiment. Instead, revenue generation, the lifeblood of World Rugby's funding model, will guide future decisions. Whether that permanently sidelines two of the sport's most iconic nations from hosting duties remains to be seen. But for now, the message is unmistakable. In today's game, money talks louder than tradition.